Thank you very much for staying. Now, the Executive Director of the Third World Network Africa, Dr. Yao Graham, is asking Ghana and other West African countries to demand a renegotiation of the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union. This is because the decision by one of the biggest markets, Britain, to exit the Union will be a disadvantage to countries that have already signed the pact.
Ghana signed the Economic Partnership Agreement last year to obtain access to the European market duty-free, quota-free on all products exported, with the exception of rice and sugar. Even though the deal was supposed to be for the entire West African region, the biggest economy, Nigeria, declined to be part of it, citing unfavorable market conditions. According to Dr. Yao Graham, the deal was signed at the time when Britain was part of the European Union. However, since Britain has begun moves to opt out of the Union, it won't be prudent for Ghana and other African countries to go back to the negotiation table.
Because it constitutes almost a force majeure in terms of the assumptions underlying the EPA. And really, in that sense, in addition to all the other problems, African countries have a legitimate case for saying, this is not what we signed up to. Let's go back to the table. And there are some voices in Europe who are saying the same thing. If we did that, then we'll be improving the climate for how the CFTA could be ultimately beneficial to African countries. Brexit means Europe has left. For many countries, Britain is the biggest market. If they are no longer part of the European Union, then it's a major dislocation of the understanding. It provides an occasion for us to go back and say, let's renegotiate this CPA.
He explains that the deal at its current stage will affect the recently signed African Free Continental Trade Agreement between 44 African countries.
So the foundations of the CFTA in terms of the trade regime is problematic. It has led to some very radical and accelerated, things, which are the reasons why some countries are not happy with the content. Secondly, the process has been flawed. It's been rushed in a corner by a few technocrats and a few regional institutions, and has not had the discussion that it should have in country, so that people understand why this thing is necessary and the consequences and repercussions of signing these agreements.
There are, however, fears that all these agreements could have negative impacts on the industrialization agenda of government.
Now, Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen has reaffirmed government's commitment to implementing the One District, One Factory program. There have been some concerns over the delay in executing the program, but the Trade Minister says plans are advanced for its completion. He was speaking during the sword cutting event of the office complex for the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industries at Osu here in Accra.
The new two-office story complex, when completed, will be the new head office for the chamber, which until now occupies a rented apartment of the World Trade Center building. At the sword cutting for the office complex at Osu in Accra, Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen stated his outfit was committed to improving trade in Ghana. According to him, government industrialization agenda, including the One District, One Factory, is not displaced at all, as is being speculated by some people. Alan Kyerematen stated that government's close relations with the chamber will help address various issues, including the cost of doing business in the country.
We've embarked on, again, probably the most significant industrial transformation program ever to have been introduced in this country, which is based on 10 pillars. There's the stimulus package, there's the One District, One Factory initiative, which is seeking to bring industry to the doorstep of every Ghanaian. We've also identified a number of strategic anchor initiatives, industries, that is going to be the new growth poles for our economy. We are talking about developing a petrochemical industry. We are talking about an integrated bauxite and aluminium industry, an iron and steel industry.
On his part, President of the Chamber, Nana P.G. Dankawosu I, was of the view that the construction of the office complex complements the Chamber's resolve to provide an office space to support its members and other business startups.
This building, Mr. Minister, seeks to achieve the aforementioned issues, and in particular deepening business linkage between local and international investors. Honourable Minister, permit me to give you or give the audience the specifications of this project. The GNCCI building complex is an elevated two-story building estimated at a cost of $3.2 million US. It is our expectation that the GNCCI building complex will get the needed support for states and non-state actors and completed according to the schedule.
The two-story building is estimated to cost $3.2 million with provisions for future expansion.
Now, the British High Commissioner to Ghana, Ian Walker, says the UK government will be prioritizing massive investments in Ghana's general infrastructure, oil and gas, as well as agri sectors. The High Commissioner equally wants Ghanaian investors to acquire adequate knowledge about opportunities existing in the UK before they take up such investments there. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Ian Walker said he believes the rise Ghanaian investors to the UK will be in the mutual interest of both countries.
It seems to me the direction of travel is a good one. It always takes two to tango. My side of the bargain is I will keep on bringing British business here, I will keep on bringing British finance here, but we need to, in the next very short while, turn that into very real consequences, and I think that's very much on the Government of Ghana's mind as well. I think we see people bringing intellectual capital and real capability and real opportunity, but I think that the gap I see is one of finance, and I think leading with finance is key, and expertise. And I think that knowledge transfer, that building and continuing to kind of grow that expertise, whether in oil and gas, in technical training, for example, which I know, we're doing a lot of work on just now, but across other sectors as well. We are really keen to kind of keep that knowledge transfer. That is what I think the UK brings to the table. We do not want to be bringing in hundreds of UK citizens to come and work in Ghana. That's not what we want. I think we want to be working hand in hand with Ghana, bringing what the UK can bring, but allying that with what Ghana wants, needs, and we believe together it's significantly stronger.
Now, British Airways says it is restructuring its operations in the country. This would result in the relocation of its call centre from Ghana away to India, as well as outsourcing some of its operations in Ghana. There's more in the report, as well as a statement issued by the airline.
Sources say the movement of its call or data center from Accra to India is expected to happen on or before June this year. With this move, if local customers make a call to British Airways Ghana office, it will be routed through India. Workers at the center have already been told about this move, but it is unclear for now whether they will be absorbed or asked to go home. The airline is also planning to outsource its ticketing and other operations to a third party. But in a statement, British Airways says it fully remains committed to Ghana and will continue to offer flights between Accra and London. British Airways adds that it's currently reviewing the way its global sales seats operates. The airline adds that it has less than 10-member team at its Ghana office and looking at roles as part of a consultation.
All right, so we'll be following closely developments within the aviation sector with regards to British Airways restructuring exercise and update you subsequently. Away from that, the Crops Research Institute is stressing adoption of biotechnology as a way of whipping up youth interest in agriculture. Biosafety and environmentalists at the institute, Charles Efiye Deborah, believes the system will lessen disincentives to farming. Efiye Deborah was speaking at a seminar on genetically modified organisms in Kumasi.
The average age of the Ghanaian farmer is 55. With Ghana's rising food import bill, experts fear the country could become vulnerable to external shocks that threaten food production. Though the youth is critical to efforts at achieving food security, labor intensiveness and inadequate capital continue to be disincentives. Mr. Efiye Deborah believes biotechnology benefits of high yield despite less chemical application will attract the youth.
And there we see farmers driving their Porsche cars, doing very well. And here we call them poor farmers walking by the road. I think we can use the knowledge that we have acquired to go in there. But with the introduction of such technology, I think with all what our parents went through, we know it is going to face off, because if they are spraying the many times, if they are going through difficult times in getting the little harvest that they are getting, I think if we have a technology that can help us, even if it is up to 50%, then it will be lucrative enough for us to also go. And I think.
However, genetically modified cotton has been discontinued in Burkina Faso because of gradual loss of genetic quality. Farmers are said to have experienced loss of export value of over $70 million. Dr. Eli Gave is a lecturer at the Faculty of Agriculture at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He urges local scientists to improve technology to meet demands of the environment.
And that also raised the issue of the preparedness of our scientists as to being able to maintain and continuously improve the technologies we use in agriculture. So we have agricultural systems, but we also need alternative technologies to get.
A principal research scientist at the Crops Research Institute, Mensa Jomeku, believes creating an enabling environment for existing crops will ensure food security.
All the top crops that we have still have the potential to feed us if we create the enabling environment for them to express themselves. So, like Madame said, there are alternatives. We need to also, as scientists, look at creating the enabling environment for the crops we already have to express themselves, to get the attainable yield, so that we can feed ourselves and even
Ghana has been working on GM cowpea and rice since 2013. National Biosafety Act 2011 prescribes adequate level of protection in the safe development transfer. Chief Executive of National Biosafety Authority, Eric Okore, admits some collaboration with international scientists in the past. He, however, allays fears GMOs will be influenced by international scientists.
There are policies in place. So the biosafety law has positioned us to have our own GMOs. Charles said it, our scientists are capable to do the transformation. So we are going to get them. Meanwhile, we are introducing them into our own varieties and control them ourselves here. Thank you very much.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Now turning attention to the financial sector, and Atwuma Kwangoma Rural Bank says it has exceeded the Bank of Ghana's minimum capital requirement of 1 million Ghana cedis by over 200%. Officials say the bank is now insulated from the option of merging with other banks to enable it to stay in business. CEO of the bank, Dr. Safo Kantanka, revealed this during the opening of a new branch at Kronum in Kumasi. This is the 8th branch of the bank in the Ashanti region. Nana Yaujima reports.
Atwuma Kwangoma Rural Bank's capital adequacy ratio stands at 45%, above the expected figure of 10%. Other indices include non-performing loans at 5%, which falls within the minimum set by the Bank of Ghana. Chief Executive Officer Dr. Safo Kantanka attributes the achievement to prudent management. He wants all financial institutions to adopt proper internal control systems to protect their businesses.
Corporate governance. People find it very difficult to distinguish between the job of the board and that of management. Job business, it formulates policies and then they give the management the opportunity to implement those policies, and they must supervise. They shouldn't go and sleep. So where there is effective supervision, then you'll be able to put things in a very sound way. So I think that I would say poor corporate governance, where we have very good corporate governance, and where you have proper internal control systems. You must put in place internal control systems, and you shouldn't take things for granted.
Dr. Safo Kantanka spoke to Loud Business on the sidelines of the official opening of a new branch at Kronon. It brings to 9 the bank's branches in the Ashanti region as management seeks to leverage on technology. Patrick Owusu is board chairman.
We cannot operate well in a competitive environment without paying attention to innovation and technology. We have in the pipeline the introduction of agency banking and ATM. We have currently introduced what we term in the banking industry as Mobi Collect, which monitors and controls susu collection.
Nana Yaljima reporting.
And in another development, the general manager of La Community Bank, Peter Tehova, says the replacement of Universal Bank's base rate with the Ghana reference rate will have corresponding drop in their lending rate because of the pool effect. However, he says they would have to wait for advice from the Apex Bank, which regulates rural and community banks, for a new formula to calculate their lending rates. Mr. Tehova was of the view that the current interest rate regime is causing a mismatch between budgeted revenue and actual revenue of the bank. He was speaking in an interview at a ceremony where La Community Bank presented scholarships to needy but brilliant students.
Rural banks also have their own association, and for now we have not yet heard from that association, who are regulated by the Apex Bank of Ghana. So we are yet to be apprised with whether that reference rate will apply to the Association of Rural and Community Banks as well. But for now, it's only for the universal banks who used to have the base rate system of lending. They are to replace the base rate with the Ghana reference rate for now. The pool effect will force us to come down, but as to the modalities and how it will be called, what kind of formula to adopt, we are yet to be advised by the Apex Bank. The challenges we face currently is in terms of the interest rate regime, because all the rates are falling. Our lending rates are supposed to fall, but we have had a budget which took into account the old rates. So there's going to be a mismatch between budgeted revenue and then actual revenue because of the attempt to force down interest rates.
Now, players in the architectural industry have been urged to take their businesses a step further by harnessing technology and innovation to their advantage. Founder and principal architect of Ajay Associates, Sir David Ajay, says the only way architecture can shoot ahead and make more gains in the economy is through modernization. He was speaking to Inshirado on the Executive Lounge. Here's an excerpt.
Architecture is like a challenge. You always have to lift the scales up. It's not about accepting the context of what you're in, but architecture, when it works well, always pushes the game to the next level. You know, so for instance, in the master plan we're doing for Marine Drive, you know, we're proposing an idea in Ghana which has not been tried anywhere on the continent, actually, and that's to create a dense smart city plan that kind of follows a certain kind of morphology to do with the coastline and a certain kind of idea there, but to create and to reclaim a public life for Ghanaians on their own asset, their own waterfront, beyond just it being that colonial kind of fear of the place where slaves were taken and the place which are the poor, where the poor are, etc., but to really reclaim that as part of our heritage of public life. And to also then create an architecture which lifts the construction industry past their limits. So, you know, some of the questions are, oh, well, we don't have cranes for that, or we don't have firemen who can hose it. Well, actually, the technology exists now to bring it to the next level. And by bringing that aspiration to the continent, you bring those industries also, because they follow. You know, if we start to kind of make ambitious architecture, the technology will follow us, and then we will master that technology, and we will become the leaders of the technology. Innovation, that word innovation, is very important. It drives everything, and there's entropy in the West because they've built their cities, and they've kind of, it's so expensive to do more that it's really difficult for them to be innovative now. They're sort of in a kind of crumbling infrastructure, whereas we haven't. So our poverty, in a way, for me, I said, has become an opportunity to leapfrog. Massively, but the only way you leapfrog is through innovation, and that innovation, you know, as Africans, we're really wonderful at embracing new technologies and new forms, and we can master those technologies, and if we're the ones innovating on our land, we will be the leaders. If we're continually just taking what has already been done and bringing it in, we will always be second best. So that move is very important. And so that, for me, you know, in all the commissions I've been given, is to always say, look, obviously we're not going to push you to where you can't do it, but push the envelope up so that we can train more people to have excellence. We can bring industries that understand that excellence is required, and that will spread throughout the system and shift the game. So shift the level of construction in this country, shift the level of support in this country, shift the level of understanding about environmental issues, cultural issues, etc.
Also, you can watch the full interview with Sir David J on the Executive Lounge, which airs on Saturday at 6 p.m. with a repeat broadcast on Sunday at 8 p.m. on JoyNews channel and Multi TV and channel 421 on DSTV. It's now time to take a look at our interview of the day. And pioneer of internet in Africa, Professor Naku Kweno, is warning business owners who resort to the use of Facebook for data collection to be wary of recent challenges facing the global social network. Facebook is being scrutinized for failing to protect personal data of millions of users across the world. The US and other European countries are taking measures to strengthen data privacy laws, but here in Africa, such laws are virtually non-existent. It is against this backdrop that Professor Kweno has warned the development does not only affect data collection, but also undermines business advertisements on the platform.
I think data access is going to become more constrained. That is why I think the job of the MOBEX effort is very important, because they are going to collect their own data. So then they are able to analyze it. But data in general is going to become more difficult because of fears for privacy and so on and so forth, which means we have to now generate our own data. And so if we were not previously doing measurements, we should be doing more measurements. It will change it, and I think it's good. It's going to give us a new culture in which we are more measurement conscious, and I think that's a healthy thing to have.
So you earlier indicated that this breach has had some impact on, it has affected how the kind of information we put on the social media, but you bear with me that social media has become a platform for businesses to advertise. So talking about advertisement, what more can be done in this regard?
Okay, we will continue to use it, and I think it's healthy to use it for certain kinds of things where you are trying to reach people. On the other hand, my difficulty and my challenge is that if you put your data there and it's being used to create money, without you being aware, it's a concern. And if it's being used for creating money, I'm sure it's being used to create mischief also. See, because we're all using the net, including those who want to be mischievous, criminals, terrorists, as well as the churches, people who hospital, everybody's using it. So it means that you have to really be careful what information you put out there. You can't put everything you want out there. And if you do, then it can pose some challenges as well.
And on that note, we wrap up this evening's edition of Business Live and also wrapping up Business Live for the week. It's been a great pleasure having you on board the whole week, and I believe you've had an interesting time with us. Do join us again next Monday for more business on this platform. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Enjoy your weekend.